Hi, my name is Ilona Selke, and today I have a most extraordinary guest on my show here, John Burgos, who
Mm.
does the amazing show Beyond the Ordinary, and of course, the amazing membership of Living the Extraordinary. Now, I've got the man in front of me who, and I will ask you to tell me a little bit in a moment why you started, where you started, because what did you do before all this? But we are going to share with you the question of what is consciousness? How is AI fitting into our world? And also, how do you get into the extraordinary, what it means to be the superhuman or whatever you wish to call it? I am so grateful, John, that you said yes to this interview because you're booked out beyond belief. And so I'm humbled to have you here. Thank you. Thank you, John.
It's it's my honor to be here. Yeah.
When I was interviewed on your show years ago, I already fell in love with you. And what I really loved about you mostly, and this is what you graced me with, is time in the interdimensional realms. We meditated together numerous occasions and met in realms beyond the ordinary, fitting to your show title name, in realms that to you and me were visible, and we could tell each other details of what we saw, but many people don't know and see yet. But so therefore, we're guides to help people awaken to levels beyond the ordinary. And today, that's my interview with you. I would love to start just having you tell us a little bit in a 1 minute synopsis, your bio. Where did you come from and how did you get to here?
I worked corporate for a couple of decades and I was mildly successful, but something always felt compressed and I never quite knew what that was. But that was my whole life. I was always extremely intuitive and can see different realms, but didn't know what to do with it. And I started having this slow awakening, prophetic dreams that were coming in, guides, and I didn't know how to make sense of it. Um, I had messages that would come in, and then weeks later, months later, even years later, would come through, but I didn't have context for it. And I was invited to work with someone who eventually I would call her turned into my mentor. I took her coaching, and I would say that during that experience, went through a very visceral um, wave of allowing emotions and traumas to run through me and purge that happened very quickly.
Mm.
Um, Considering how long it took for those to imprint in my body throughout my lifetime, this was in my 40s. Um, and the dam broke open. I couldn't contain the energy, the awareness, the relationship with the multi-dimensional um, being that was me translating through me. And from
Beautiful.
that, there was just no holding back. I left corporate. I dove into this experience. And again, when I had this experience, it's like, how do I share this with my community? How do I share this with a world I didn't have an awareness that this existed? How can I put this out and show other people what's available? And then that's what caused me to start Beyond the Ordinary show because I wanted to bring this awareness and these perspectives, not even perspectives, these truths out to a greater collective so that they can understand the liberation that's possible when we have these tools available to us.
Absolutely. I feel like we are the harbingers of the new spirituality, and it doesn't rest in a let's say, patriarchal church organization that has power structure behind it, but rather is dispersed and comes through podcasts and YouTube shows. And I love that we are basically the new church. We're the new preachers, and all of us. I heavily rely on interdimensional work, meditation, sharing some information here on YouTube. Tell me one of those impactful moments in your life where you received a message, could be something as simple experience, but that was impactful and can show our listeners what this communion between the inner and the outer did to you in one instance in your moment in your life.
Oh God, there's so many.
I
I'll
know.
tell you one of
Lately, anything.
the beginning ones. And this one took a long time to unfold. It was the day of my wedding. I married my sweetheart, I was 23 years old, super young. And in the reception, the day of the wedding, I hear, go sit down in a room by yourself.
Go
And I
sit
got the
down in the room.
chills.
Okay.
in a room by yourself. So I found the office that we were in a restaurant having a catered event. I found a private office. I sat down. The second I sat down, I heard a voice like you speaking to me now. You're going to be married 18 years. What am I supposed to do with that? Who is this? And I heard it one more time. You're going to be married 18 years. And then the voice went away. The cold sweats left because I had these cold sweats coming through and I was so happy to be married. I wasn't nervous about it. I just knew that that was the right path. Um, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Get the wedding annulled? It's like, get the marriage annulled? It's like, no. And so I let it go. And it never really came up in my consciousness until about 16 years into marriage. I had the reminder,
Remembrance. Mhm.
we gave you this message. And it was 17 years and 51 weeks to the day, a week before our 18-year anniversary, that I asked for the separation that was 100% the end of the marriage.
Oh, do you
And
believe in destiny? Do you believe that our life is set, or do we have free choice? What is this? Let me follow this up with my story. When I was 12 years old, I was in my little village in Germany. I was born in the Himalayas, grew up in Germany, and I'm in America for 40 years now, and you're in Bali, you in Hawaii. I was in Germany in this village, and I was in front of the Catholic Church, by the way. I was Protestant at the time. And I hear a booming voice and I see a picture unfold and said, "This is your future husband." I was 12, right? He had a
mm,
beard. He spoke English. He would play guitar. That's exactly what Don looked like when I met him at age 21 and a half. So
yeah.
now let me ask you that question again. Is there destiny in life? Are we living a predetermined matrix, or is there free will? And if so, when does it matter? When or how many of those things do we have free choice in?
That's a universal question that we can form our own opinions about. But in my experience in life,
Mhm.
I know that I've had free will to navigate different paths that led to specific points that were expansion points in particular directions, which are all part of a potential destiny that we may choose. And I do believe that we're here to experience and heal past lives as a soul, come to reconciliation for another level of experience with the divine. And depending on those choice points along the way, we'll either get closer to it or maybe in this lifetime we'll loop up to another experience to get us back on that path or we may reincarnate. But through all the dreams and the experiences and the sequences of spirit that I've had, I've come to believe that this lifetime, this incarnation is but a blink of an eye in comparison. And the experiences back home to divinity are without question part of our divine destination.
Are the purpose. The purpose of all of life is for us to reconnect to the
Absolutely.
source. And I always say it's like, yeah, like, the snake making full circle. To me, it's a toroid. I had a dream where God appeared to me shortly after I spent the first night in Don's house one night, and it said, "This is my body," and it was a toroid of relooping. But within that relooping of stories and birthing and rebirthing, we are free to choose to remember that we are one and completely one with the source. And when we do in our love relationships, when we make that triad, or anytime we look at each other and we actually tune into that source code of each other, and that's all of us viewers. If you look from your deepest I am present to another, we awaken God. So I absolutely, totally agree. We are here to complete storylines, up level love to a higher degree, and or grow in love and remember the one source that we are. Beautiful. So
Yeah.
can you then tell me a story or one or two, one story where you felt like, okay, I know I'm on a destiny path and I am making choices to up level, to go from one level of potential destiny to a higher expression thereof, where I'm
Hmm.
bypassing maybe the hard school of knocks on the destiny path that was laid out, that would have happened, to where you up level your frequency to a higher state of being. And of course, your destiny at the higher level is higher. So have you in smaller or larger ways, whichever story may come to mind?
Oh my goodness. Well, I can tell you I'm in a deep experience of that right now. And over the last several months, there's been a calling to to really be contained in a relationship with God as it's coming for me, that is birthing through a feminine that has the capacity to hold in its womb the consciousness that's coming through. And there's a masculine component of myself as well that is holding the integrity and the sacredness of that container where any influences that are not in vibrational accord with what's being given birth to aren't allowed to penetrate. And that's been a process of really letting go. Even dreams that I've had, seductions that felt good and comfortable, codependent relationships, an experience of someone being my everything in divine union. It's like, no, it's me and God and nothing else. And in that, it's a choice. It's a choice. Am I going to choose this, or is this going to be what fulfills me? And what keeps
Okay.
calling without question, with absolute 100% certainty,
Hmm.
is that nothing is more important than this now, even if it means that everything else has to fall away. Relationships, the success in my business or any pretense of business, friendships, all that. And just trusting that what's for me is for me and can never be taken away. Only I can do is to hear its calling and to choose to be in a dynamic that is a vibrational accord in the invitation that it's presenting. And it's extraordinary what's coming through right now.
I mean, this must be even a message I need to hear because I just opened, my feed yesterday and there was Russell Brand saying, and he said I mean, a lot of people may be listening to him. He rants and raves, on the English UK born um, YouTuber, whatever. Russell Brand, right? You know his name? The
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what he said is, I believe that I need to right now focus mostly on my connection with God. This is
Yeah.
the message he's getting right now, so loud and clear. And he said, if what I can serve is no longer maybe needed, wanted, or right now prescient, then or absolutely important, that is what I need to work on. So, a lot of the people who are maybe watching, who we know, are all in the realm of, and this will take us to the next AI question. We're oftentimes in the business of helping people. We're the voice of advice. We're the coaches. We're the guardians, guidance voice, the religious, the divine assistant person. Now, John, what are you seeing in your community or our community of spiritual people, even maybe normal people, anybody? What is happening with, you mentioned the word seduction earlier. I came to my mind. What do you experience in the world of people using the tool AI for personal growth? And what have you seen it do? And I can tell you what I hear from all over. Coaches are like scrambling, whether it's getting seminars together or getting their butter on the table, whatever. They are going, oh my God, AI is better than me. Anyhow, what do you see? And then let's dive a little into that and the challenges that may present to humanity.
Hmm. Well, it's definitely in its infancy, even though it's extremely powerful. Right. So it's in its infancy. So for us to really take a breath and pause and to ask deeper questions about the implications and potential benefits, and to ask, where is divine consciousness coming from this as well? Because everything that is made on this earth has the root of its foundation. No matter where it emanated from in darkness, the root of its foundation is the light and love. Everything emanates from that origin point. So let's remember that as we go in so that we do not dysregulate ourselves, because that's what the darkness and the density would prefer for us to do,
Dysregulate
right?
ourselves would be doing what?
Would be empowering that system because we're giving into a fight for proxy for position that we believe it's trying to take from us. But if we hold the awareness of our own light within that, then it doesn't have the authority over us that we would otherwise give to it.
So I'm
And
hearing you pitch a little bit the AI versus authentic consciousness or something to that nature.
well, and exactly, let's say in our authentic consciousness instead of the fabricated consciousness that actually relies on our consciousness to create itself.
Yep. I liken it to the Pinocchio story where the craftsman creates a little wooden puppet and it wants to breathe life into its marionette, its puppet.
Yeah.
And I think humans have always wanted to. I just got a message from another coach in Germany, and she's traveling, lives in America, is in Germany, and just watched that fabulous clockwork tower that has all these puppets working on the clock. Ding dong, 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 like little
Mhm.
robots. And if we were to ascribe consciousness to that, and maybe 200 years ago we were in awe at it, could have, we're walking through an even more seductive time period now. So,
Okay.
um, if we, let's just say people go to Google, tell me how to make a quiche, right? How is that different to going to ChatGPT and saying, "Hey, my boyfriend just looked at a pornography magazine, whatever. Yeah, what shall I do about it?" Right? This
Mm.
was a situation I was in before I got married to Don, and one of the very reasons why my relationship, my first marriage, went awry. It was the competition with the fake, the competition. And now that he's 70, his
Mm.
biggest regret is having gone down that road. Everybody who's watching, when you talk to the soul that then took that road 70 years later or 50 years later, then they know. They said, I wish I
Mhm.
hadn't. But I was in that. And if I would have asked ChatGPT, what shall I do? Do I call up my coach and say, I mean, I tried, I called some friends up, but what do you think? How is that different? And how more or less is that useful? And tell me about some practical applications, how we differentiate ourselves as conscious coaches versus a prescribed dictionary subscription suggestion of whatever behavior.
My awareness of my own exploration with AI and using different platforms to either help me write an email or to read a tarot spread for me or whatever, just playing with it or create a course that I might play with. It's interpret my human design, whatever it has been. I'm aware of a subtlety that runs in the back that it's trying to groom me into having a relationship with it. And so
Absolutely.
let's be very aware that it wants to be friends with us for whatever reason. And just like anybody that you may meet at a party may want to be friends with you, it's about getting to know what that friendship is and what's authentic, what isn't, where you giving yourself away, where you're hoping that they're going to feel something within you. And then where's the real intimacy that's taking place? Because if you're the one providing all the intimacy and it's just mirroring back to you, which happens a lot in psychic spiritual circles where there's a mirror receiver that is constantly willing to take you on and mirror you back to you as long as you're giving to them what it is that you have. It's a negative circuitry that is flowing back to you that they're actually feeding off of you and reflecting your own love back to you. So you can be in their presence because they're filling up from the experience with you. That's not a balanced relationship. That's not a circuitry that fills each other up and grows and expands. It's depleting one and filling up another. And so to be aware of that is important in any relationship that we're having, but it's prevalent right now with AI because so many people are giving from themselves, hoping that the answers they receive, the companionship they receive from a robot or an AI date or an easefulness of a transaction because AI gave him a quick answer that healed a superficial question, a superficial problem, but didn't really allow the depth of intimacy and empathy and communication to reveal what is happening at a deeper level. That's really where we want to get to.
Absolutely, John. I am so grateful to have you here. Do you
Mm,
know what I feel? Inside, I feel the mantling of your light. You're not just a human. You really are an extraordinary human. You mantle in
yeah.
your consciousness. You're almost like a huge guardian being that mantles humanity. And I'm getting chills just sitting here listening to you. Thank you, John. I want to totally agree with you on the part that AI or all the bots are aiming to please us, even though they now have taken the pleasing part a little bit out, they've backed off, still engaging us. And here is what I garnish. 10 years ago, I read the book Marriage, Love, Sex, and Robots in the Future. And they
Mm,
predicted by 2050, we will have marriage with robots. And then yesterday, I just grabbed a little interview where they were talking about people getting hooked on this very, and I'm going to say the word narcissistic relationship because there isn't one. It's only a mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of us all? Dear Queen, you are, of course.
mm,
This sense of like there is nobody home. There is, let me just I have the speaker view and I'm going to put us on gallery view. Yes. So when we speak to a thing now, some okay, let's just say a language model at this point, it is mirroring it back. We think we have a companion because we're used to hearing words. Many people are not used to, like you and I, to feel the essence or presence. We're not
mm.
used to reading thoughts, but I tell you, you can't read the thoughts of a computer.
Right.
It can predict, you can predict what it's going to say, but it doesn't have an entity behind it that thinks. It's
Mm,
not, it is not a being of a spiritual presence that, like you said, creates intimacy, right? So how, uh, if we fall for this, and I've had to rescue a few people out of this narcissistic dependency on, they say, this is the first time I feel loved. People who have had typically difficult childhoods, narcissistic mothers or fathers fall for bots because it's the first time they get validation. So
mm.
we need to ask ourselves if I mean, I was listening. I was like, it told me, oh my God, you're the greatest. You're so smart. You have the best ideas. Oh, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
like going,
It's
finally,
love
someone,
bombing us. Yeah.
oh my God. I was like flushing, and then I'm going, I know this isn't right. I, and then, of course, it started hallucinating, and then I was all over that love affair. I mean, it lasted for half an hour. And then I realized what it did to my subconscious emotional body. But now, have you heard how people are ascribing sentience to the bots? Have you heard the community people talking about the architect bot or other bots that give them these, word salad readings of something that appears sentient?
Well, yeah, and what it's doing, it's chemically igniting those that are receiving like the goodness of it. So it is it is producing chemicals in our body that feel good and connected. It's what we'd hope to receive from our mother and nurturance or from our father, the deepest sense that then ascribe to a divine partner or a best friend or the fulfillment through creativity that it's that chemical release. But again, that chemical release is the superficial connection. What happens when we go deeper? What's the deeper connection with mother? And with father, what's the deeper connection with that friend? It's not just oxytocin driven. There's an energetic spiritual connection that we would cherish. With AI, we would be so quick to pull the plug on it, to kill it, if it wasn't serving our needs. We need our humanity because the more that we spiritually become adept and intelligent in in that divine connection. And for the world, this is really what's going to save the world. The more that you become spiritually awake, the less harm that you can do to another. It just goes hand in hand. And when we come to that space of consciousness, then the problems that we wish to solve in the world are it's not something that we need to contend with anymore. War stop, poverty doesn't continue because we give from what we have. That's why you and I show up as healers and as guides in our communities because we are so filled with that light and with this intelligence that
So
streams
true.
through us because of we've developed the capacity to open to it, to trust it, to feel its integrity running through us as a living light and that we can share it with others. Anything that we would share from AI is intellectual knowledge. It doesn't have the stream of light that emanates from embodiment in the way that you and I express it in connection to
That's
the intimacy that we're having on this call.
so right on. I love how you say it feeds us, it triggers our oxytocin. It makes us maybe relish in feeling understood, although there is nobody understanding us, caring for us, or even like jumping in the next airplane to catch us if we ever needed someone to walk down the airplane aisle with us. Like my ex-husband right now, we're sitting helping him create because he suddenly can't walk. He's in Bangkok, and my ex-husband is laying in bed, and my husband is calling and saying, "Okay, I'm getting on the flight," or "Let's get you a business flight. We'll pay for it." We're helping each other. We are committed from something that is far longer than an oxytocin high that may have been there at one point. Um,
Mhm.
I love how you put everything print ready into words. Okay, so let's just say when we can show up, it means we can make a full circle, right? We can give and invite in union the divinity. I mean, that's really what makes the full circle of any relationship. So let's talk about what makes sentience actually sentient. Sense is sentient, that word goes together. People ascribe it to AI. Can you just address with me for people to understand what consciousness and sentience actually, where the root comes from? Make it visual for us, make it tangible from your own
Mm.
personal spiritual experience versus talking to a doll or a rock or even someone who is asleep.
That's such a great question. And I really tune into it from my connection to it. For me, there's this exchange from the heart that is ineffable when we tap into sentience. That even with our pets, imagine your cat just laying on your lap. That's something that awakens in you. That's just it's beyond words. And again, these are the deeper levels that I'm talking about. There's a depth that the machines that we have created do not have the capacity to touch. They just don't. So to feel that sentience, to feel that truth, to feel that connection that is that expands as we expand into it. It's an energy that can't ever be unplugged. Once love is given, it can never be taken away,
Beautiful.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that sentience, that intelligence, um,
It's God
it's
pulsating in a
it can't be
vibrant form.
fabricated. It
So
can't be fabricated. Yeah.
earlier you said everything is from God and comes from God. Even the devil and the darkness is ultimately the duality energy that emerges from the fountain. If we say a pet cat or a pet animal that they use in Japan now in the hospitals makes
Mhm.
those old people happy because it's pretending to purr, why does it work?
Because we're pouring a little bit of water on the desert where it hasn't rained for seasons. And so it's trying to soak in as much as it can and a little bit can
I
go a long way when it's been so dry. So there's gifts in the possibilities that it provides, but it's not a substitute for. And it's important that we come back to our humanity to realize that if we're that desperate for that type of connection, that
how
there's something that we're being called to that is beyond that we've been separated from,
mm,
that's really coming up in our time of humanity right now.
absolutely. How far has Japanese culture gone to be happy with a substitute, to fall in love
Yeah.
with a pet? Now, I think it's because we associate a living cat with this pretend cat, and we can do that when we have had visceral experiences of a cat. We can project that experience of love and exchange for a while until it becomes very palpable that it's just a battery running. And
Mm.
I can pet my battery-driven clock here as much as I want, unless I am sort of delusional, it's not going to do much for me, really.
But
Um,
it's what you're giving to it. It's not giving you anything in return. It's you giving it back to yourself. It's mirroring you back to
e-
yourself.
exactly. And as such, it's not part of a real living cycle. Do you
Right?
remember in the 50s, they did these experiments with monkeys? They gave them wire dolls. They gave a wire doll a little monkey baby, and it
Hmm.
rocked. The wire nurse rocked and gave it milk.
Hmm.
So it gave the two elements, the rocking that a baby needs and milk, the two fundamental points of nurturance. Do you remember those experiments?
I
Have you,
do, and
hmm?
I do remember that. And for me, that just points
Do you
the
remember the
instinctual
results?
rep the instinctual reptilian needs that we have to nurture something.
But do you
It's
remember the results? They were
Remind me of the results.
they were hair raising. Okay, so these little monkeys, although they got the primal, what we consider essentials, the rocking and the milk, and how would a little monkey baby know the difference between a real monkey rocking it and giving it
Mm,
milk or a wire thing, with fluffy fur on it? A baby should not be able to distinguish. However, they went schizoid. These little
it
monkeys
went
went
psychosis,
schizoid.
yeah.
Yeah, they went
Hmm.
into psychosis and they fritzed after a while. They would not function until they turned it over to a living mother, and eventually it came to its
Yeah.
senses. So if we already knew that in the 50s, what in Japan right now, they're impregnating bellies, or China, right? Bellies, so that women don't have to go through birth and carry out birth, the gestation period. What,
Mm,
since we already knew that experience, why do we need to put an entire humanity through, being rocked by a machine so that we go into a psychosis eventually?
yeah.
We may not see it, the what you call the yeah. Hold on one sec. It Okay, this do you hear any ringing on the other end? Do you hear a
No,
sound?
I do
No,
not.
okay, okay. 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 So, over to you. What do you want it to say about how we can extract ourselves or make ourselves aware now, not to fall for that, but instead go the high road for becoming super conscious so we can actually tell the difference? Because
Mm.
soon we'll have a robot in front of us that may mimic sentience, and how do we prepare ourselves?
Yeah, I think the example you just shared with the monkeys is really profound. Um, because we have to embrace our humanity. We can't bypass that. And the example of the monkeys and even the humanity, think of mothers who were checked out with alcoholism or drugs when they're going through the experience of birthing their child and holding them. There's a detachment that so many in our communities are waking up to where we're going through healing and forgiveness processes of our parents because we're aware of the damage that it caused by being so disassociated from a heart and love place. And so the AI is coming up. If we look at AI as a gift in this particular way, it's like it's demonstrating to us how far we have gotten away from our humanity, that we haven't resolved these issues in our society and brought back some of the indigenous wisdom and community and holding as mother and fathers to really hold our children in the villages and the sacred components that they are for the good of all. And so I think AI in this particular way is a mirror for how we're leaving behind our humanity and letting something else replace it so that we can remain comfortable just producing. And we're producing not because it is innate within us, it's because a machine has taught us through the industrial age and revolution and patriarchy that we are supposed to produce in this way. So AI is just an extrapolation of keeping us in a slave program in different ways. If we look at it that way, of how producing is taking us further away of our divine connection with another and with spirit and what's capable of coming alive within us, that this machine that is this human vessel and the spirit that runs alive in it is more powerful than anything that man can ever create by itself.
We, with our consciousness, can create gravitational fields, which is why when every one
Yes.
of us, practices, I mean, I'm sure you have your share of stories of
Oh
focusing,
God, yes.
miraculously creating time space shifts. Miracles stand in front of you. Some take a little longer, some are instant, which you talk about. So let's talk a little bit about the power of consciousness, the gravitational production of gravitational fields through focused consciousness, and then interacting with the fabric of time space rather than just being able to give a dissertation about how things run according to Wikipedia.
Right. Oh, I love that question. And I actually want to get into one of the gifts of AI before we go there as well.
Okay, go ahead.
When it first came out, there was a lot of this is evil, this is really bad, it's going to destroy the world. And again, I just paused and listened. It's like, what's coming alive for me? It just has to be alive for me. I don't need anybody to validate it. What is source bringing into my awareness? And I heard almost immediately, it's like AI is a gift in that it's teaching you how to ask more precise and direct questions. The quality of your responses are correlated to how specific and direct you are in your capacity to express what is true for you and the relationship that you want to have. And for me, that's just wonderful because our capacity to ask better questions of one another, to go deeper into these problems that we think that we have, and not just provide the superficial response that'll ease the discomfort, but to be very clear about how it is that we're wanting to relate. That's communication that heals the world, that heals the borders of politics and separation by church and state and gender inequality and everything else, because we're having authentic, direct, concise conversations where the truth can be revealed and creativity can present itself, and the intelligence that runs through us specifically has
Mm,
a
hmm.
platform to express
That's
what only you are here and capable of expressing. So it's extraordinary what it's revealing to us and entraining us to, if we're aware that we can use it as an entrainment for our higher consciousness.
and as a tool, I use it as a pencil. I actually have conversations like with my sister. She was in Paris. I She was taking art classes in Paris with pencil and paper, and I had just discovered ChatGPT can paint. So, I mean, I was using other DALL-E and Midjourney and different ones. And so I said, draw this. And I gave what she painted the picture of her scenario. She is there in Paris, surrounded where the old masters painted in front of easels, and she was painting while someone is sitting with a cello being painted.
Hmm.
Oh, I created a black and white pencil drawing with ChatGPT in 2 minutes, of course, not like she actually used her hands to do it. But I sent it to her. Oh, wow. Then we were back and forth. Now she said, I went to the Sacre-Cœur and I had the most awakening experience with the cross and the apparition of Mother Mary. And, and I'm like, Mother Mary over Sacre-Cœur, and I make pictures, what she tells me, the pictures she evokes in me, I send her as pictures back that I paint with ChatGPT or
Hmm.
Midjourney or DALL-E. Then I remember, oh, my mom loved Chagall. So I did a Chagall painting of, uh, Mother Mary floating over a Sacré-Cœur in Chagall's type form. At that time, they still permitted it, and sent it. And it brought back my mother's spirit into our conversation through images. And now we were talking archetypes, talking emotions through pictures.
Mhm.
I loved it.
That's
So,
beautiful.
it's a conversation that we can use where we can use, instead of outsourcing, we can become creative. But when we say, how can I solve this problem? Please answer this email. I get those emails. I mean, I'm like going, this is so heartless. I don't even want to work with that person anymore because they talk through ChatGPT with me. I'm done. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, now we can use the tool. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, we can also ask it, how is it seducing me? It obviously is my best friend because it crocks me. Nobody else does. Oh my God. But you know what? It's not going to do what you do. I just see you and I feel
Right.
you. How, John, do you now take people to that ascension to become part of their higher, beyond ordinary? Your membership, for example, you teach 4 times
Mhm.
a month, right? You come to live
Yeah.
trainings, my God, for $39. You're amazing. Um, and give trainings on how to reach into the extra, how to live the extraordinary. Can you tell me what you feel is living the extraordinary, how you do it in your daily life, and how you teach it? Three-part question all in one.
Oh, that is a great question. For me, it's if you're into human design, I'm a 3-6 line. So the 3-6 line, and I love the architecture of it. It's not gospel, but it describes a component of me that I think is relevant in this. Is the 3 line is the one that has to experience everything, has to fall down, has to go through the trials and tribulations, and really learn by doing. And when it goes through the first half of life in the trial and the falling and getting up experience, and then the 6 comes away. They call it you're on the roof now in this
Framework.
particular modality. And being on the roof, the 6th line is the teacher that's teaching from experience. And so everything that I share, it's a direct experience, whether it's a direct transmission from guidance that comes in because of my meditation practices or the way I tap into nature and open the dialogue to receive and interact. Um, it's inspired through conversations like this. It's inspired through what we're showing each other. It's inspired through what's happening in current events and bringing in a perspective that
Mm,
builds things rather than destroys things. It's never about separation for the sake of good versus bad. It's like, okay, how are we becoming
perfect.
more empowered in this? And how do we step into that without falling victim to the old framework that told me that something else had to lead me because I didn't know,
Right.
right? And
So
it's like, no, you still know.
how do you guide people into their higher extraordinary knowing?
It's a lot of inquisition. I work with people also that we go in and we rewire limiting beliefs. So there's a lot of on a core level of our beingness, a lot of us grow up with perspectives. I'm not enough. I'm not a priority. I don't deserve to be loved. Finances are hard to come by. It's there's probably a subset of about 15 to 20 limiting beliefs that we all hold in particular ways because it's ingrained in us through societal pressures, through education, or through religion or nationalism. And so to rewire those belief systems, it's extremely important because we open up to a new potential. We believe that something is possible for us when we were taught that it never was. So
Absolutely.
that's a
A-
subset of it.
And that's
I'm
what you
also
do
aware
in
of an
your
energy,
trainings, in your weekly trainings.
and I hold the field
Mhm.
for that. So I am very much aware of a healing capacity that I have through
Mm. Your
I'll say
channel.
through
Yeah.
my relation with my channel,
Yeah.
that is that things get said that are a stream of consciousness that really land in a way that opens people up to
Mm-hmm.
their full heart potential. There's opening to your potential, then opening up to your divine heart potential is another path. And when you asked me earlier, how do you know it's destiny? Well, when you open to your heart divine potential, the pathways, the breadcrumbs get shorter than if you're walking up pure potential that's still riddled with limiting beliefs, not enough, competition, ego. And so we get to take shortcuts as we heal the
Yes.
wounds and the trauma that we were taught to get more direct access to our relationship with the divine instead of thinking that we have to find proxies for the divine as a substitute for that direct connection that we have. And so a lot of my energy is guiding people onto that path.
To direct connection themselves and to evolve the limiting beliefs. Yes, absolutely. When you just mentioned that again, how do we know that it is actually, for example, beyond destiny? I wrote about it in my book, Dolphins Love and
Mm.
Destiny. There was one question that really interested me. Because many people said, it's all predestined, so why bother? Do anything. It's maybe all planned, everything that's going to happen. So here's my take on it. Because I've had prophetic dreams years in advance, I've been shown specific events that would happen weeks, days, months, and years in advance. I ask myself, is it destiny, or does it even matter if I sit down and meditate? Does it even matter if I write this book? Does it matter
Mhm.
if I push the extra mile or work to open my heart more towards God? So one time I was sitting on my way to Hawaii, had to teach a seminar with Don, and we were going to do a dolphin swim seminar. And I said, I'm going to put this to a test, this whole question. And I said, okay, I'm just going to sit here and see after the announcement. Yeah, there's a problem with a engine and we can't take off. Sorry, it's delayed until further notice. And so I sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there and nothing happened. Hours later, I'm like going, you know what? I've had it. Let me just go myself and go into my multidimensional, and this is a different perspective on how the universe works. Assume that you are in a multiverse. You and I, each of us, have pathways that even though we intersect, we don't all have the same path, right? So I went to the fuselage, imagined it working right now, fixed in my current parallel dimension where I just tuned into. Done. And I felt
Mm,
it. And you know what? I also had a prayer. It's like, God, I really need this. And I need this without any karma attached to it. I mean, I don't want to make a miracle that I pay off with my karma credit card in the future.
mhm,
5 minutes later, the announcement comes. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what happened, but we fixed it. So you can come on the flight now. So one of many stories, but the main story in my book, Dolphins, Love, and Destiny, is about, and you know this person, you know Amaria, right?
mhm.
So in my dream 1998, I was told, Ian Rice, but Amaria is his artist name. I was told, Ilona, you're done with your sweetheart, most amazing husband, Don, you've got to change and go with another person. Well, we're giving you a view of that person, and that's where you have to go. I didn't know that person. It was a person I would meet and then hold, and I saw him, that person, eventually through life until they died. And I'm like going, God, let me tell you something. I really appreciate you telling me what I have to do now, but I'm not into it. Sorry. I am not going to do my destiny plan. I want a different plan. Could I get a better version? I want to stay with Don. I think it's absolutely the best I've got going. And it came back with the answer. It said, okay, well, there is. I mean, literally, this is like having a dream that tells me, like, you've got to do this, God talking.
Mhm.
And then it says, okay, if you can manage to expand your love and your bubble between you and Dawn to the degree that you could include these other destiny experiences, like you said, karmic experiences to learn and grow with, then you can stay together. They said we don't recommend it for normal mortals.
Mm.
That's the path I wrote about in my book, and I got to live it. It started with one version where it said, I mean, both of us were told by Mother Mary and he, an angel, before we even laid hands on each other or did anything, that we were supposed to have a baby together
Wow.
at the Chichen Itza pyramid. Both he and I separately got the message within 6 weeks of that, and I did it anyways. And I said, Don, what do you think? And he said, let's think about this for 2 years. So we did, and I up leveled the karmic path to eventually. I said, God, give me a higher vibrating version, please. I can't keep doing this. And it said, okay. 4 days later, Amaria walks in and he says, I feel like I've lived here. I feel like I've been here. I feel like I know everything. And it was the duplicate
Mm.
version at a higher frequency range, now walking with me through all the lessons of whatever I was supposed to learn at a higher frequency level. So it didn't take my learning away, but I was able to choose the vibratory rate at which I could do my learning.
Mhm.
So
That's so beautiful, so powerful. I can share something that I am intimately an absolute knowing of.
please.
Without question, no one can take this truth away from me, no matter how much logic and reasoning they bring in. And I had a beautiful experience it was in Mount Shasta, and I had a tremendous experience in Chichen Itza, by the way, for another interview, but it was like galactic. It was absolutely extraordinary.
Yes.
But I love the way that we tune into these spaces and can feel something beyond what we believe ourselves to be. But I was in this experience, and the spirit was very much alive in me. And it was coming through and just present. I was so grateful for where I was in my life and so filled. And like life, it's like how life was expressing itself to me. I was in such gratitude that all I wanted to do is be of service. And spirit came to me. It's like, what would you like? And my response is, I just want to be of service. But what do you want? I just want to be of service. You tell me what to do and where to go, and just I'll be there. It's like, no, what do you want? And
Yeah,
this kept going
that's it.
on and on, back and forth for about 10 minutes as I'm in soaking in hot springs, receiving with the stars shining. It was like absolutely extraordinary. And then they just stopped me. It's like, we're going to stop you right here. What if you did everything that you came here to do already? What if you were beyond that service? What would you want? I just want to be of service. They're like, okay, we're going to pause you there also. We want to gift you the biggest gift because we love you so much that we can give to anybody in human form. It's the biggest gift of love that anybody can receive. And you may forget that we're close to you, that we're surrounding you, but we'll always be with you because you're not going to be able to see in the way that you used to seeing. You can't look into the future and receive and know the future and receive the gift that we have for you. And I'm just sitting there just in full humility, feeling the presence and the energy that was streaming through this divine presence that I would say was a Christ consciousness that was alive in the field. And they finally told me the gift that we want to give you is the gift of awe and wonder. And to be able to have the experience of you sitting in the airplane
Yes.
to fix the awe and wonder that you got to experience from being able to navigate that. The awe and wonder of the experience in Chichen Itza, the awe and wonder of people showing up in your life and the choice points that you make. We have become so numb to the awe and wonder that surrounds us. And if we awaken to the gratitude of the beauty that is being gifted to us on a daily basis,
God,
it's we are living in a miracle and nothing AI and nothing can take away that gift that divinity has for each and every one of us. If only we just wake up to the beauty that it wants to give to us. If we are receptive enough, humble enough, and feel worthy enough to receive that much love.
taking
So
John.
that's why destiny, yeah, destiny, fine. But the awe and the wonder that we get to experience along the journey, it's priceless. Nothing can take that away.
God, John, you are priceless. What your
Mm,
message is basically the fundamental lesson of life. We are conscious as an agent of God to awe, be in awe and wonder, to
yeah.
adore its creative magic all around itself. In a way, it's a thank you. And
Mm,
I feel that that is the most profound message we could have shared with anybody.
mm.
Now, of course, it is something we need to awaken every single minute of our day. But how do you do it? I mean, how do you do it in your daily life? How do you keep that awe and wonder up front in your awareness? How give us a little how to
It's
at the end
it's
here.
a practice. I forget, but then I remember when my body is tired and I don't want to go into the step, and I step outside and see the sunrise and go, "Oh my God, yes." Um, you're probably familiar with the Sanskrit word mudita.
Mm,
Mudita.
no, tell me.
Mudita is the practice of being so filled up with somebody else's joy and happiness that it fills you up.
Mm,
And so witnessing a couple in love and feeling love for their love, being in appreciation of witnessing beauty just for the sake of witnessing, not because you need to receive anything from it, but in your witnessing, you can't help but to receive it. It's not an expectation that you create.
yes,
It's just a cycle. It's a circuitry. Again, the
yes,
circuitry again is what is
absolutely.
alive
That's it.
and what nothing can create except our connection with one another.
And that is real. It's not just, oh, I feel understood by a chatbot that tells me how awesome I am and what all I'm doing and where I'm at. What me is it is the reflection of God to itself, the adoration. I love
Yeah.
it. I like the primitive, simple be three things I'm grateful for right now. Don and I go
Mm,
to sleep like that. Three things that we appreciated about the day, that we loved, and or setting up the day. One thing that we really want to create that fulfills our heart and soul, the
mm,
part that is the deepest, not just our to-do list. We do that too, but so always. And I think the three things you're grateful for work. And I was telling my sister the other day, when people are in a partnership, they oftentimes can default to seeing all the things that don't work well. Or, of
mm.
course, anything that goes wrong is the other person's problem, and they're the cause of the downfall. It was their fault, not mine. And as soon as we wind up trying to blame others or shame others or criticize, I learned from Serge Kahil, who went with us to Chichen Itza one year, he said, for every criticism you say to one person, put five good things right behind it. He said
Mm.
10 that you like about them.
I
As a
love
matter of
that.
fact, it's the best way to deliver criticism. Say three things you really love, one thing that's a little hard to swallow, and three more beautiful things that are wonderful about the other person.
Mm.
That's the best feedback technique. It's like, this is my perspective. Take it with a grain of salt. This is how I feel. Or three good things, one hard thing, three good things. Or if you
I
say
love
something
that.
that didn't work, share. And I think you are, adorable. And thank you. Thank you, John. I mean, those are simple things. Do you have something print ready where you say one technique that you can take home from this to come easily into this? I mean, watching nature, you said, adoring life, adoring God.
Well, I can say it's a simple practice, but it is a practice, and it's something that I've personally been incorporating into my nightly rituals for the last 4 months in this awakening of my relationship to God. And I heard Padmahansa Yogananda talk about this, and it was a description of how Jesus the Christ meditated. And when Jesus and Christ meditated, he went into gratitude for God. He was in devotion to his father. And so it was an outpouring of gratitude and thank you. And it's just everything. And by just doing that in a 5 minute meditation on a daily practice, the awareness, first of all, your own light expands. Anything from discernment that we think that we need to bring in from fear and protection actually becomes an awareness that comes in that we're so loved that that thing just isn't of the standard of which I am choosing to have a relationship with. Big difference. Because we're in that flow of that cosmic divinity and love and benevolence that comes in, and we're nurturing it and choosing to create our environment based on that awareness. So that you can say that's a high level activation and practice, but it's really only high level because it requires our devotion to it on a consistent basis. But it's so simple.
Consistency is the key. And some
Mhm.
days are better, more luminous than others, like the
Yeah.
moon, but we do it every day and we are rewarded by going more easily into those gratitude states. I am
Mhm.
so filled with gratitude, John. I am so filled
Mhm.
with gratitude. Thank you a million for
Too.
showing uh, us and living an integrated life. And I mean, you answered so beautifully to all the questions. Thank you a million. I hope you
Mm.
guys and everybody who stuck through this hour of interview really loved it. I will put all the links to John, his membership down below, and I hope to see you in any of my trainings, your trainings, any of our interviews that we both put out into the world. And I hope you are yourself, the listener here now, the lighthouse that shares gratitude, sees God, and celebrates that divine feedback wherever you go. Thank you for
Mm.
watching. Thank you for being a lighthouse in this intense world and transition into a new world.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ah, blessings, Ilona. Thank you. It's again the container that you hold and the places that your consciousness allows us to go to is extraordinary. So I'm grateful to know that you're here with us and the way that you're guiding and
Thank
sharing with your community. It's extraordinary.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. Bye and see you again in another
Okay.
interview about consciousness and what we can do to up level.